Colleen Sullivan, who's been our liaison here, our core representative, working very well with us, and as I may have said yesterday, even at midnight she was working. And so after a long day yesterday, she went out, she was working the game last night. She took her extra food over to a food bank. Isn't that great? Got lost getting there, missed the first 4 innings of the game. Historical game, no hitter, first one in the park, I overheard somebody saying. She was there for it. And she's an old softball player, so she really understands that.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool? Good morning, Yushi.
Good morning.
And so with that, Colleen's going to share with us, as we try to do at each of our summits, to talk about engaging volunteers, recruiting volunteers, engaging volunteers, and retaining volunteers. And since she's the volunteer coordinator here, we often have the opportunity of having their people share with us their secrets, what they're doing, the creative things they're doing to make it happen. Think about how you might apply that to your own TRIO organization, not your OPO, and translate some of those things. So with that, Colleen, thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Hope dinner was wonderful last night. Just a few notes. If you did not receive a gift bag, if today's your first day, there are extra gift bags over there and additional notepads and pens if you need anything such as that. And again, we do need lids on all of the cups that are in here. There are recycling bins and trash cans in the other room as well, too. Those notes, I'm going to move on. I'm here to talk about volunteer recruitment, engagement, empowerment, and retention. Now, building a successful community outreach program takes a lot of different people. It takes us, the community outreach coordinators, it takes our recipients, our donor families, our core family, and also other advocates in the industry, in the field, and in our community as well too. We all have to work together to work towards this disparity. We have a problem. We don't have enough people signing up to become donors. Without donors, there are no recipients. So if we don't have people checking that box yes and signing up to become donors, then we can't do transplants. So that's why it's so important that everyone comes together and pulls in and does their part and builds this puzzle. Now, all organ procurement organizations are a little bit different. As you met us today and yesterday, Misty briefly talked about our organization. Susan did a little bit more in depth. Our department only has 5 or 6 people in it. That means 5 or 6 people to cover 6 million people. That means a million community members per community outreach coordinator. With that, that's not possible. That's why our volunteers are so important. Now, different OPOs have different setups. Different OPOs, maybe some other OPOs, have between 10 and 12 coordinators where they're able to do a lot more. And unfortunately, within our organization, we only do have 5 or 6 to cover such a large territory. So I at least know for core that we extremely value our volunteers and what they're willing to do for us. Now also, as you can see, a lovely picture of us, that's all of us, and then we also included another one. I would not necessarily say I'm the direct volunteer coordinator. We do have Linda Staylor, for those of you that are from the Pittsburgh region. She usually covers the PA region. And then also we just hired on a new West Virginia coordinator. We realized within West Virginia, they relate to individuals that are from their own community a little bit better. So we hired someone from West Virginia to cover that service area. Now, the importance of our volunteers. Our volunteers have an affinity to donation. Most of the time, like I've already said, they're recipients or donor families. They have a connection and they have that passion. And it's easy for them to convey that message. They know what they're talking about. And I tell people all the time, I could stand up here, give you the statistics, say, every 10 minutes another person's added to that waiting list. 18 people die a day. There's 115,000 people on that waiting list. I don't have that personal story that you all have. I don't have that. I can stand up here and say statistics every 5 seconds, and it would not be the same as a volunteer standing up here sharing their personal story, their struggles, and what they went through. Now, we do also realize that some people are not as comfortable as doing that, so we place people in the appropriate ways. Different ways of recruitment. We partner with different organizations that go for a similar cause. As you can see, Shannon Flynn's here with UPMC. We have the American Liver Foundation. Different organizations that are working towards the same cause as us, we work with them. We suggest volunteers to them, they suggest volunteers to us as well too. Last week we hosted a heart support group here, and I was able to get 6 or 7 new volunteers just from that support group. So that's another idea for your organizations. Reach out to those smaller support groups to have them come into your larger TRIO group. Also, we have recruitment in the community. If we're out at a table and we're talking to people, we're trying to register people to sign up to become donors. I'm sure this has happened to all of you before. You have someone that comes up to you and says, I'm a donor family member. Thank you for what you do. What you do helps me really grieve with the loss that I've had. Or you might have a recipient that comes and thanks you and says, thank you for doing this, because without you, we would not be able to have our transplant, or I would not be here today. So with that, I always suggest them to sign up to become a volunteer if they'd like to look at more information. There are different ways that they can become involved. Also, viral opportunities. We do post it on our social media websites. We also always post the link for our online registration, as you can see there. And also, we're working to enhance our relationships with our transplant coordinators. I know Linda is going to be reaching out to a lot of our coordinators within our service area in Pennsylvania, and then Christy, as well as down in West Virginia and Charleston. So that's another way that we're looking to recruit volunteers. Now, volunteer engagement, the faces of CORE. This is probably where we're looking to try to get our most bang for our buck. What you saw yesterday with Misty explaining our media campaign that we just had, every person in that media campaign is a face of donation, whether it be a recipient, a donor family, or it's someone that's related to one of the two. These individuals show who CORE is, what we do, and why we do what we do. That's probably our most important agenda item that we have going on right now. Also, we have a DMV ambassador program. We partner with the DMVs. We allow volunteers to go out there and check up on the DMVs. That's a very important question that they're asking. They're asking, do you want to sign up to become an organ donor? We don't want them saying, you don't want to sign up to become an organ donor, do you? We want them to be asking the right questions. We want us to be developing the correct partnerships with these organizations to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. Now, granted, they can't be biased, which it would be nice if they could be, but they can't be biased, and they can't say, you should really sign up to become an organ donor. But we want to make sure that they're answering that question appropriately, and if they can't have that, provide that information to give them, such as there are 18 people that die a day, what can be donated, they can point them in the correct direction for that. So that's why this ambassador program is very important. As many of you know, more than 90% of the population signs up at the DMV. So this is extremely important for us as well, too. We also have a high school program, educating the high school students that are coming up and going to be making that decision. We began to train volunteers to have them go into the high school as well too on their own, to be able to give this presentation, the CORE presentation, a general overview, and share their personal story as well too. With 80 plus counties, it's very difficult for us to reach out to all of those high schools. And it's nice too, because when we send someone out, they're going out into their own community. So they might know kids at that school, someone might know them, and it really builds that puzzle together a little bit better. Also, we have trained speakers that, once again, for the high school program, they can give that CORE presentation. Now, they're not going to know the ins and outs of it as well as a lot of our outreach coordinators might be able to, but they're going to know quite a bit, and they're going to be able to answer a lot of questions that the students may have or the general public may have as well, too. Also, other community engagements, whether it be standing at a health fair, asking people to sign up there, going to the Pirates game like we had last night. We actually brought in Scott McIntyre. He was a kidney recipient. He is also blind, and he tried out for American Idol and was one of the finalists as well, too. So he came to the Pirates game last night to sing for us. We had a lot of volunteers. We had shirts that went out, and they actually had the CORE logo on the back as well, too. So these different type of engagements, it's something where our volunteers can come in and kind of try something a little bit new and exciting. And then also for others, we do have in-office support. If they don't want to go out to the community, if they're not comfortable with that, we have many mailings and many people on our mailings as well too. So stuffing those envelopes is a full-time job, and it's very helpful to have people come in and to be able to do that as well too. And as you can see here, this is Misty and little Dalton. He is a heart recipient from Altoona. He's about 15 years old, and he was able to throw out the first pitch there recently. We have a grant going on with the University of Pittsburgh where we're trying something called Text to Donate, where we allow people to text in to a specific number and receive more information about donation, and then they can make that decision. We provide them with the website, so we give them that call to action, and then once they're able to click on it, they can go on it on their smartphone or take that website and go home and do that. So with these different baseball games and sporting events, this is something that we've been trying as well too. So that's what they're there to do. And that was also something that we did last night at the Pirates game as well too. Now, we also encourage others to look into doing something in their own community. That's something that's extremely important because I'm not even from Pennsylvania, I'm from Ohio. So with that, I don't really know all of the different areas in Pennsylvania or in Pittsburgh. I don't know what's going on in their community. Our volunteers bring us that valuable piece of information. They let us know, this is something that's really big that's going on in our community that you should know about. Or this is something that might be a great opportunity for us to sign up registered donors. This was something that one of our volunteers actually started putting together. This is the Erie Seawolves. This is our second year for this. This is their Organ Donation Awareness Night. One of our volunteers has a relationship with someone at the Seawolves and was able to get us this night 100% free because of his relationships. We didn't have to pay any sponsorship money. We didn't have to pay anything to get in the door. And it's an amazing opportunity because what we have here is all of those people that are standing on the field behind me talking have some connection to donation. And just looking at all of those people lined up, that is so powerful for that audience to see that many people from their own community. Because first of all, if they haven't heard about organ donation or transplantation and they don't know anything about it, seeing that many people from their own community just at this one ball game, that's a big impact. So different ways that different individuals or volunteers know how to reach out to the community best really helps us to make an impact. After our first year, the Seawolf said, wow, I really didn't understand how important your organization was. They almost felt like they dropped the ball because they felt like they could have done more for us. And again, this is 100% free. So it's a really amazing opportunity and partnership that we're developing through our volunteers. That's what's most important. Our volunteers are taking this initiative and taking this step to try to enhance our partnerships in their own communities. And also, as I said earlier, the faces of donation. Every single individual in our collateral is a recipient, donor family, or whatnot. And this picture on the bottom right-hand corner, this actually shows a recipient or a donor mother with her daughter's recipient. So these pictures are extremely powerful to put into our collateral, to put on TV, to put on our billboards, wherever we would put them, and also to share with them in our presentations. Each picture that I have in my presentation is one of our individuals. And that also helps because that allows me to give those personal stories as I'm giving the presentation because again, I don't have that. So that's why this is so extremely important. This is our media creative print ads that Misty showed you a little bit yesterday. What these print ads do is they just share a little bit of that blurb of that individual's personal story, but then also it highlights them, but then also shows other faces that are in our campaign as well too. And then at the bottom you can see our call to action, pledge.4.org. And then our billboards, hopefully if you've been driving around Pittsburgh, hopefully you've seen some of them or maybe been watching TV the past night and a half or so and maybe seen a commercial. And our Facebook, we have different individuals on our Facebook. They are actually our wallpaper on the background behind our main picture. If you go to Facebook, you would know what I'm talking about. And then our media creative, TV. We have different commercials that are going out. We have Antonella, she is a small bowel recipient, and then Samaya, she's an intestine recipient. So it's an amazing opportunity for people to see that transplantation does not only affect people in their older ages, it affects kids, it affects children. This is why it's so important to make this decision. So this is something that we've really been moving forward with is this media campaign. We're really hoping to see large amounts of numbers of registration from this as well too. Now we wouldn't have that campaign if it wasn't for our volunteers. Now volunteer empowerment. We have training workshops and orientations where we allow people to come in and get trained to provide that presentation, to know the overview of CORE, to know how we work, to know how we function, to know the donation process. As many of you walked in downstairs, you passed our donor referral center. Does anybody know what a donor referral center is? You guys know what they do? They collect those incoming calls from hospitals that are calling in to refer deaths to us. Now, it's extremely important that when people go into the community, they know these different steps of the presentation, or they know the different steps in the donation process. So it's just really an amazing opportunity for them to come in, educate themselves a little bit better, to be able to go out into the community and provide that presentation. Now also we have a volunteer appreciation dinner. We have those every year. Recently this past year, we had 4 of them. We had one in Erie, one in Altoona, one in Pittsburgh, and one in Charleston. Since our service area is so large, we really decided to go out to them and try to have a convenient location for them to come to. So these are pictures from those dinners as well too. Now also we have social and media publications that we try to empower our volunteers through as well. Our Core Connections newsletter that I put together, we always feature a feature story. This is an opportunity for someone that maybe isn't comfortable coming up and talking in front of everyone. They can submit their feature story, and they can be a feature story, and everyone can have that story. And also it helps so many more people than you really think, because we do have organ procurement coordinators that go out and approach the families. And as they approach the families, it's important for them to know other stories. It's important for them to know stories of other donor families that have gotten through the grief through donation. And then also recipients that are so grateful to have that transplant. So this is also helping our organization as well too, not only empowering the volunteers. We also have a volunteer corner if we have something interesting going on in the community and our volunteer has something that's going on and interesting. We have Jack Silverstein here. He is a 10-year recipient, and he just had his 10-year anniversary. So we highlighted him this past month. And then also we have a section for Team Pittsburgh whenever they want to submit information in there as well too. So this is also an outlet for them to get their information out into the community and to reach out to as many people as they'd like, our market as well as theirs. And also our quilt right over here, we have Lisa Carnahan, which is one of our recipient mothers, that she makes all of these quilts for us, and she was highlighted in our volunteer corner a month or 2 ago as well. Now, volunteer retention, recognizing the strengths. As I continue to say up here, not very many people may be comfortable standing up here talking. It might not be a strength of a lot of people. So as our job as coordinators, we need to acknowledge where we believe people need to go. If someone's an amazing speaker, then we're going to want to make sure that we utilize them for what they're best at. Or if they're uncomfortable speaking and they only want office work, then that's another sector that we'd like to put them in as well too. So recognizing where we're going to put them and making sure they have a successful interaction with CORE and they're happy with their engagements and their extravaganzas that they have with us. And that goes along with proper placement, making sure that they're going into the correct placement. And also our innovative practices, those flash mobs that you heard about yesterday. Flash mobs, has anyone heard of a flash mob before? Okay, flash mobs are pretty amazing. That's something new and exciting that goes on in the community, that through Donate Lift America, we were actually able to participate with them and collaborate and have our own flash mob in Pittsburgh. So this is really a different opportunity that we're providing volunteers to come out and show their support. This actually was able to get a lot of our younger volunteers, our younger kids that may have had transplants, or even recipients that have children or donor families that have children. This was a different opportunity to bring out a different group of individuals from our volunteer pool. And also personal relationships. It's extremely important that we're developing our personal relationships with our volunteers. We want to make sure that we know what's going on in their lives, as well as, is everything okay? How are they doing? How is their health? There's so many different things that go on in this field that we're aware of, but it's really important to add that personal touch as well too. So that's something that we really try to work on. And that's really what we do for our volunteers. Does anyone have any questions at all about CORE or volunteers?
Did I understand you correctly that 90% of the people who donate do so through the DMV?
It's actually higher than 90%.
Wow.
Don't know the exact, I don't recall off the top of my head, but it is over 90% that actually signs up at the DMV.
Talking a couple of other OPOs, this is the major focus for this year, especially from Donate Life America down to each OPO. And so they actually have told me, Jim, you're wasting your time on anything else. This is the only thing that works. Well, we are...
Didn't have it, and they just got it this year.
I'm sorry?
New York just got a DMV sign up, and
Right.
before you had to go separately to
Right.
a separate
Yeah.
website. Nobody
That
did.
paper
Right.
was, that sign was rough, because when we have different people from different states, I've had New York, signing someone up from New York is very difficult.
It's easy.
Something else that we had another grant. We've been doing a lot of grants with the University of Pittsburgh, which is really exciting, which goes along with the innovative things that we're doing. We got a grant for West Virginia to introduce tutorials and training classes for these DMV workers. It's a tutorial that they have to go through. It's mandatory now that they go through this education. So it's a module where they have to click through it, understand the appropriate things. Because as I said earlier, they are saying, you don't want to sign up to become a donor, do you? They can't have that, personalized message that they think is okay for them to do. It's not okay. They're not allowed to be biased in any way. And also, they're not allowed to say, you do want to be a donor, don't you? They have to ask the question the correct way. Now, granted, it would be nice if they could, but we have to make sure that they're asking that question the right way and not stirring people away.
And they're not different than recipients in this one sense. We were doing this outside of Philadelphia in New Jersey, and the coordinator from the OPO would come in with donuts, of course, and they were having training in the back room. So you got a busy front room where they're dealing with their clients, and then they're being sent back for breaks. Well, nobody wanted to come back for the breaks, okay? And I'm going to tell you, this one particular worker there, she's a wacko. I mean, she was truly a wacko. She came by, dum, 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 and she's going out in her car, and she's singing in her car on her break, and then she comes back in. So what's this all about? Huh? So you do your bit, right? She went out there, and she told everybody there, you have to go back to this. You can't miss this. And she got everybody to go through the training. So wacko or not, she was very effective. Between her and donuts, everybody got trained. Food is a very essential event, I know, for our own organizations, but also when you're trying to do something out there. A box of donuts goes a long way. We all know that.
Coming up later on in the afternoon, too, we have Howard Dagenholtz coming in. He's a professor at the University of Pittsburgh. He's the one that's worked on this grant with us for the module in West Virginia. So if any of you have any questions for him, or if you'd like to take it back to your OPO and see what they'd like to do with it, because I know Howard's looking at making it adjustable for each individual state. So that's coming up in the future, but it's a great opportunity to try to get this mandated.
Are there like small grants for volunteers to put on, like if they need a little bit of money to do an event or something? Are there resources for that?
There's all sorts of opportunities out there, and some are as simple as, for example, the book that we had over there that we published. We have a great relationship with the OPO, and Howard Nathan has been supportive from the first day that we were using his office to form the chapter. And so when we had that opportunity, we figured out the plan. We showed him the draft, walked up to him and said, Howard, you know, you've supported so many times in the past, would you like to help us with this? And we knew it was going to cost about $1,500 to print the first 200 copies. Simple as that. And he said, all right, I'll give you $1,000. So your relationships with the transplant centers, sometimes a little bit harder there, but they come through too. And we had another program that was the transplant registry, and we had a relationship with them, and one of our members works in that program. And so she was part of the book. She was a recipient that had children after transplant, and so she was able to make a point that he should support us, and gave us $500. So the small grants are easy, they're built into relationship, and I got to tell you, I've always been one that, how am I going to ask somebody for money, right? It wasn't my thing.
Like Donate Life, do they have any?
No, Donate Life as an organization doesn't have grants that I know of.
What we do is through Donate Life PA and Donate Life West Virginia. Now those two state teams are completely different. Donate Life PA, we have monies that we can go into. Donate Life West Virginia, we don't have any. So we actually have to fundraise in West Virginia and try to get monies to go out to be able to do these events. Now with Donate Life PA, we collaborate with Gift of Life, with Howard Nathan's group, and we're able to work together with them and use the money that's available to go out and have different things. Now, it might be something that you can partner with your state team to do something. That's an opportunity for you to look at, your state team leader, or whomever would be involved that way. So that's a different possibility.
Interestingly, we sort of live in between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, although we're
Okay.
in the Philadelphia group. So it's sort of like an area that's not really
What part of PA?
Lancaster,
Oh, okay.
South Central.
Is that Wendy or is that?
Yeah, Wendy, right.
Okay.
What I would suggest to you, one,
Okay.
I'm sorry. What I would suggest to you is, one, talk to our chapter. See if we can find a way to help you for whatever it is. The key to any grant, the key to any request is to have something that matches the interest of the group you're going to, be it the OPO or any other group, and having something that you can put in front of them. Here's what it's going to cost us, and here's why it's a benefit to the same audience that you have, that we have. All of a sudden, especially with an OPO, I mean, her with limited staff, and I'm going to say this, and I'm not sure if it's true, okay? But if you were in her area and you came with something that would help her in what she's trying to do, all right, and it was minimal funding, you know, you're going to have an event and you need $50 for the coffee or something for the event, I'll bet you they would say, well, that's really an extension of what we do. You're just a volunteer doing an event for us? Sure, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
We orchestrated many years ago, for example, a poster contest. And we wanted to give out prizes, of course, to the high schoolers who were going to win. And so I forget how it worked. We weren't getting much support from the OPO at that particular point in time. This goes back many years ago. Nobody there we're talking about. And when we went ahead with it and put things together, and finally the director of the community relations at that point said, Jim, I don't want your volunteers wasting time trying to raise money. We'll give you the money for the awards. That was a turnaround from his first position on it, which we don't have anything to do with it, okay? So finding the relationship, keeping that relationship, the synergy between what you're doing and the person you're appealing to, be it a pharmaceutical, they don't typically go down that low, okay? You're in the $3,000 to $5,000 range, and a good project, you can get it. But then don't miss opportunities within your network. You've got people that probably aren't coming to meetings, but they are really passionate about this, and they will support you, okay? And giving them an opportunity to participate in something that they can't come out to maybe, or that they would come out to, but they're not coming to meetings, call them and say, hey, we've got this challenge. You don't have to ask them for money. Do you have any ideas of how we could get some money to support this? And they say, well, I could give you $300. Oh, that's more than we were hoping for, you know? And it happens all the time. So that would be my personal experience. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to add some affirmations to what she's saying based on local experience. Okay. One of the things that you saw her doing a lot of, and I don't think all chapters do this, but you need to start doing it, getting pictures of whatever it is you're doing. And that could be the meeting you're having. And I don't care if you only have 5 people at your meeting. Sit them together and take a picture of the 5 people. All right? It looks like a crowd. You can't see who's not in the picture. People think, oh, it must be a good meeting. Look, there's all these people. Well, the 5 that we're focused on, those 5 people, when you use that photo on your website for some slide presentation like she's doing here, like we do all the time for anything, I mean, somebody is the repository for those photos. In our case, Susan is a truly non-paid, so I guess you can't call her professional, but truly a professional photographer. She loves what she does. Everything the OPO does, she's there with her camera taking pictures. She comes back and presents them with an album. Now that does 2 things. One, it cements our relationship with the OPO, certainly. Okay. Secondly, she's got that bank of photos that if we're looking for something to support a message, it's right there. Okay. So even this event, how many pictures have you taken so far in one day?
Yesterday I took about 770.
Aren't you glad we're not using film that you have to buy anymore, right?
If using film, it wouldn't happen. I mean, I take duplicates of everything.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed at like
That's the
people who-
professional.
if they're talking and you take a picture, I mean, you do it. You got the mouth open or they're tongue out. What you don't see is they're moving, but you know, that second that you take a picture, you know, where the eyes are closed.
It's very important to be able to have those pictures. I mean, having those pictures is key. You put them on your social media, on your personal website. It's very important to have those. And also, if you want to submit a newsletter or article to any of your OPOs, I'm sure they would include it for you. Any burst about Trio, I have our meetings that go on for our heart support group and our kidney support group. Those are in every single blast. So I'm sure that anything that you'd be interested in putting in that newsletter, that OPO will be willing to help you in that way.
The other things that you triggered for me, Colleen, one, I don't know any chapter that's big enough to put on their own speakers training. Not that you couldn't do it with 3 people that you're training, but if you have somebody who's really good at doing that, having them put on a session to train is a good way. But listen, most of the OPOs have their own training for volunteers, which includes speaking. I know Philadelphia does. I'm only speaking for them, so I'm not sure. Do you have speakers training? Absolutely. So again, don't try and do something they're already doing. Send your people to them. They're looking for the audience. They're looking to engage the people. This is not competition. You're building a bridge of relationship. Okay? You're going to get professional training in speaking through your organization by your partnership with Colleen and her group. And so then you've got speakers. Now, the mental attitude of some of our members are, well, Jim, that really doesn't count because, you know, we're TRIO members, but we're speaking for them. I'm sorry. You're a TRIO member advocating for organ donation. Period. I don't care what organization you go through. If they're the place that's advertising, hey, if you need a speaker, call us. Hey, they're the speaker center. Accept it. Volunteer. And by the way, if you have other opportunities, take them. But don't try to compete. Be there to support what she's doing, and then she's there to support what you're doing, as an example. Leaders of the chapters have got to be able at any moment to answer, especially that new person that you either run into or comes out to that one meeting that they always come to and they never come back, right? To answer them, why TRIO? It's a good question. Why would you want to join TRIO? Well, damn it, you better be able to answer that without thinking much of it. So if you're a leader in a chapter, by all means, go back to the page on the TRIO website that says, here's our mission, period. Here's our vision and mission. And I'm going to tell you, you read through that a couple times, you still won't remember it. But the more you go there, you will. We had a president of our chapter come in. Oh, he was gung-ho. He wanted to be chapter president. And he got so frustrated with me saying, because he would say, I don't see how we're different than this organization, that organization. I said, well, that's what you got to figure out. What's our mission? Well, I know what it is. I said, just tell me what it is. Did you look at the website and do you know the 4 elements of our mission? Yeah. What are they? He had no clue. Right? He got so fed up with me, he quit. And we were fortunate in that. I'm sorry. Oh, geez, on camera.
But you're the one who's going to edit it. So.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to edit that out. Yes, Bob. I'm sorry, Bob.
Let it go.
It's on YouTube tonight.
Yeah, YouTube tonight. Yes,
So he just wanted to be president?
yes. He wanted to be on stage. Okay?
Pardon?
He wanted to be on stage. He wanted to lead some organization, and he's tried to lead about 3 organizations, and every one of them, he hasn't fit them all. Okay?
Right. Got
So
it.
you do have those people, and you better be able to handle those too. But anyway, my point is, you need to be the person that can answer that question of what's different about TRIO. And if if we had a session about that right now, I could tell you the things that I would say is different about TRIO and why we're different. Take one simple answer. We're a national organization that promotes at the Washington level. Okay, the OPOs don't do that. Your local support group don't do that. We have that national presence that you can point to say we're part of this national organization, period. That's a step. But you can develop that much further, especially what you're doing local community. All right. The other thing that I would suggest is, I don't know how many chapters at one point in time haven't bought shirts for your volunteers for an event. It's not expensive. I mean, those T-shirts are what, around $2 with emblazoned on them? We're not talking about a golf shirt now. I'm talking about a T-shirt. And then for your members, we're going up right now and buying a golf shirt type thing with TRIO Philadelphia on it. And we're going to use that for the people who are coming in to support our candidate information event. Now there's another example. The OPO used to do a candidate information event. They would rent room at a hotel. They'd spend pools of dollars on the caterer. They do all this kind of stuff. It was great. Over the years it dwindled in attendance. It was still too expensive. They stopped doing it. Okay, opportunity. TRIO can put that on. And so we're going to go out and using some of the funds we raise for that, equip our staff, right, with this really neat looking shirt. We're talking about engaging volunteers. You know, you give them a shirt with the organization on it that looks sharp, man, I'm engaged. But where am I going to wear this? Oh, you want me out for that? Sure. So something like that. Matching the skills of the person that comes. I mean, you got to know them. You got to learn them. You got to listen to them and find out where they're coming from, what's their interest. Oh, I'm a recipient, I want to talk. All right. Are they a good speaker? Have they gone to the training? I'm sorry, until you go to the training, no. Some people are natural. I mean, you've got a teacher who's gone through the experience. They're comfortable speaking. They're not on-ons and they're not falling apart when somebody asks a question. Those people need more training. But in general, you have other people, they don't want to stand in front of an audience of one. Okay? Great. You have administrative things going on. We have volunteers at the national level that turned out to be around the block from Sylvia. They don't want to speak in front of somebody, but they'll come and they'll help with all sorts of things that we're doing. So those are the opportunities you're looking for. Where can I match the skill of the individual, and how do I learn more about the individual? And that personal interest will give somebody the sense that, wow, this group really cares. I want to come back here. I've made the mistake, okay? I come out of corporate. You have a meeting. I got an agenda. We're starting on time. We're over on time. We're going to hit that agenda. You know what? Not everybody likes that. I mean, I thought this was great. And then I finally figured out, you know, let's start the meeting and say, so what's new? And listen to people share their stories. And so the first 15 minutes to half an hour of our meeting can be Bob and Sue talking about their latest cruise, Elizabeth's latest travel, Susan's adventures with her photographic training or some event. And all of a sudden, it's a family. And oh yeah, we cut that agenda down to focus on not that 10 great ideas we had, but one project. Because we found we were talking about, we weren't getting there, so we finally said, all right, let's do one thing. It took us a year to move from the idea to get started on that book. It took one of the mothers to say, well, I'll write my story for you. Okay, she did it. And that's all she did, and that was what it took. And so we ended up with a book. So we're now focusing on one key project a year. Only one, Jim? Oh, we do a lot of other things, but one key project that we can point to with pride and say, look at that. And they all feel, wow. When we took that picture that you saw on the chapter page last night of all the family together, all the kids together at the OPO, at the family house, presenting the book. I'm going to tell you, that picture is in many homes right now because those kids were in there. When we had that event, after we had the book published, okay, we brought them back for that presentation. We had a media event. We invited all the newspapers, the TV to come in and great thing, you know, come and see these kids who did this. Nobody showed up. Okay, we had a great fun time. And we had the director of community relations come over and be the person we were presenting it to. The kids all got to autograph their books. Okay, we had, I think it was 10 kids autographing books, passing around, so by the time we threw, we had each one of them got an autographed copy with everybody on it. Each of their families got a copy, autographed and everything on it, and the OPO got the autographed copy. The rest of them are just standard copies. You don't think they didn't feel pride? You don't think those families felt connected to what we're doing? Creative, fun ideas like that gets everybody involved. Those kids had a ball. The parents were so proud. They are all members of the chapter. And that is up on our website forever. And that's why I'd say take those pictures you got, put them up on a website. If you don't have a good website, we're paid nothing for our website. We're using WordPress. It's not a technology intensive thing. Anybody willing to overcome their fear can do that. And it's very simple. And if you go to the triophiladelphia.com website, you will see that a very nice website with probably about 10 pretty attractive, content-filled pages. I'm going to tell you that took about 1 day to put together. Now, why did it take 1 day? One, we had the photos. Okay, Susan has them. A lot of them I have on my computer from various interchanges, so I had the photos put in there. We had spent the time a year or two before developing our brochure, which please take one, okay? On the brochure, we had the content. You know, what is our chapter? What do we do? Etc. All I did was cut and paste it. And then I linked all over the place to things that the OPO, the national website, things of that nature to make it very intensive. Why did I do that? I thought about doing it for years, but was too busy to get it done. Guess what? We're applying for a grant. They say, ask for your website. Damn, we don't have one. Better get one. Put it in there. We got $5,000 on the grant. Was it because of the website? I don't know. But I'll tell you, if we didn't fill it in, I bet you it wouldn't have had the same credibility that it did with it. So check it out, and you're going to look at it and say, wow, that's pretty cool. It didn't take but one day of using that tool. Yes, I'm a webmaster. I didn't use that technology.
You have to remember that he does this easily.
But it's not a website that used my technology background. I can code those pages. I didn't. I just used their user interface to use what we had to put it up there in a mode. Check it out. If you have any questions, contact us. We'll be glad to share anything we can with you there, okay? But you'll see what that's about.
Is there a cost associated with WordPress?
No. Excuse me. The way we did it, no. You can get a host company and put your WordPress pages up there. Then it'll cost for the hosting. WordPress itself is free, and so as a result, it's triophiladelphia.wordpress.com. If you had a hosting site, you could drop off the WordPress and it would just be your name.com. That would cost you about $225 a year, roughly. Okay? So if you're rich enough to do that, by all means, but if you don't want to spend any money, don't let that stop you. I would recommend WordPress. It's the biggest one out there. There's many other free services like that. Let's face it, they're going to, I don't know what's going on, okay? When I look at that website, I see exactly what I put up there. I've checked it out with Sylvia and others. They see exactly what I put up there. Last week I had a note from Howard Nathan, the CEO of our OPO. Jim, I'm looking at your website. Where the hell did he find time to look at our website? Isn't that great? I had to call him back. And he said, he had a couple questions, and he said, I'm also seeing advertising. Do you mean to be advertising, pizza? Howard, I don't know what you're talking about. First of all, I said, Howard, I'm so impressed, but how'd you find time to look at our website? Oh, we get feeds for anything that mentions our name. You mentioned it, I saw the feed, I check it out. Super. He's a really good, but those advertisements, I'm sitting there, I'm looking. I said, where do you see advertising? Well, right there under your contact. I'm looking, not there. I said, Howard, really? I got to go talk to his Charlie to find out why does he see ads that nobody else sees. It must be some other interface, his browser, whatever. I don't know. But anyway, WordPress, where do they get their money to do what they do? Ads. So if you're going to use a free service, don't be offended that somehow ads get associated with it. That's how they pay for it. And if you're anything like me, I never see an ad anyway, even if it's in front of me. I just ignore it. I'm busy with the focus, right? So I'm not upset with that, but if you are, pay the $225 a year. We try to do things on the skinny because we're not trying to spend money. We're trying to invest it. Those are the things that I took from what you said that I want to reaffirm from a chapter standpoint. That personal touch, that connection that you want them to have with your organization is through taking the pictures, promoting. I mean, there isn't anybody, ask them first, that doesn't love to see that. I mean, if your grandchildren are up there, wouldn't you feel fantastic? I mean, that's a great picture. And that's what it's all about. Those pictures she showed. Now, most of them look like they've been done professionally.
Yeah.
But,
a lot of our pictures have been done.
But unless you have a Susan Pincus, you don't have a professional available. But there's probably somebody that's pretty good with a camera. And secondly, you can crop those pictures real good, okay? So you look at it and you say, there's the focus. You take out the bear over here in the corner or, whatever, and just take that piece of the picture. The slide presentation that you saw last night of all the chapters, most of those pictures either came from the chapters or I had them someplace. I cropped them down, I made banners out of them, not a big deal. And so they become very powerful. I think every chapter there last night felt real good about the fact that they were there and they were engaged in the meeting by talking about what was up there. Is that what you felt? I hope so. That was the intention. Colleen, thank you very much. Appreciate it.